Hello and welcome to Sisters Assembled, your home for all things MCU. And we have a very special show for you today. We are doing our Thunderbolts predictions, but as you can see on your screen, if you're watching us, it's not just me and Kate. We have Megan from Vigilante Vibes on with us today, and she's going to be helping us, think a little bit about what might happen in the Thunderbolts film. So before we dive into anything, Megan, tell us a little bit about your show and you and your MCU history.
I've been a fan of the MCU for so long, a disgusting amount of time, as well as the comics. My show is Vigilante Vibes Podcast. It's a non-toxic Marvel podcast. I do sometimes have other fandoms on there as well because I'm trying to learn, but there won't be any homophobia, racism, sexism, that gross stuff. Much like you guys. I realize we're very similar in that.
Yes.
Yes, for sure.
Safe space as much as possible.
Yes, I love that. And I'm a huge fan of you guys. You guys do amazing stuff.
Oh, thank you. We love your show too.
Oh, thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We are thrilled to have you, and it's going to be a great show. So, as we know, this week, Thunderbolts will be coming out. We're all super pumped. We thought it might be helpful just knowing it is kind of an ensemble film to recap where we saw everybody last. So if there's anything you guys want to add to this quick rundown, please feel free to jump in. But I'm just going to run down the list. So Yelena, last time we saw her was, of course, Hawkeye and Red Guardian, Black Widow film. Same thing with Taskmaster. So it's been a hot minute since we've seen those guys. Ghost, even longer, since Ant-Man and the Wasp. John Walker, since Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Bucky, we just saw in Cap 4, even though it was only a little bit. And Val, we last saw her in Black Panther 2. So lots and lots of catching up to do with these characters, but a good cast nonetheless.
Yeah, I just want to add, because when I was kind of trying to remember where everybody was, I was realizing some of them we should probably tag or leave an asterisk, if you will, that they were recruited by Valentina, because some of them are a little connected already prior to coming into this film. So we do have, obviously, Yelena, who's already been recruited, and to my knowledge, John. Those were the only two I remembered and that my Google search left me at. So I'm thinking that's it, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
Okay, cool. So we do
good.
we have that like connection already. Good to kind of keep that going, because I think this film seems a little interesting how we're exactly forming the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, definitely. And that's also a very important detail to include, that Valentina has been doing a little bit of side projects, as she's also working for the CIA, which we found out in Black Panther 2. Wild reveal that one was. So excited to see kind of her side project. I'm assuming it's not sanctioned by the government, but excited to see her side project actually come to life.
I don't think the Thunderbolts is sanctioned by the government. I think this is her side project. This is her side hustle.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I mean, what a side hustle to have. You got Buckybarnes. Like, Caitlin, I mean, come on.
Listen, I am in love with him.
Me too.
We can share him. That's how in love with him I am. I'll share.
That's fine. That's fine. Listen, I run in the Tumblr era of all things Buckybarnes, so I'm well aware we have to share, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think I had a dream about him last night, but that's neither here nor there. It's just, he doesn't know it. We're in love. He just doesn't realize it, and it's okay.
That's okay.
Honestly,
I think he's in denial with all of us, so it's fine.
The best romances start with not knowing how you feel and then, identifying it throughout a trial or a tribulation, like the Thunderbolts. But there is one character who is pretty notable that's new, that we haven't seen before. So let's talk a little bit about Bob. Bob is very likely Sentry / the Void, which I think, as we've gotten more trailers, has definitely come to be a little bit more clear kind of what his role is, though there's some ambiguity there. So I'm just going to quickly hop through some fun facts about our friend Bob, and then we can go from there in terms of, I think, his role in the film, which is probably pretty integral based on the trailers. So you guys are going to love this one, but he's basically another failed super soldier. He went into a lab basically trying to look for drugs, and he took a super soldier serum. So have that for some fun facts for you, Bob. He is super smart. He's super strong. He's very fast. And he can control molecules, which is very interesting. We talked about how he's both the sentry and the void. The void is definitely his bad side. I do think it's worth noting Yelena says the word void a few times in the trailers, which is, a nice little reference there. One thing that I thought was interesting, because we've been talking a lot about this as it relates to Daredevil and kind of the potential for crossover or ties with the Thunderbolts, is he actually has ties to both Matt and Foggy, as well as the Raft. So do I think that that's going to connect? No. Curious if you guys feel the same.
So I happen to know a lot about Sentry from the comics. The Void and him are kind of like a separate thing. They fight constantly. The Void makes him miserable, and he can't get rid of it because they are tied together. So the Void knows that. So I think it's pretty obvious he's Sentry because we have seen the Void. When it's completely black, that's the Void, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because that it's like an evil Deadpool. He just does bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I have a question, because you seem more knowledgeable than we are, especially of the comics, because we
Yeah.
don't have that background.
Yeah.
Would you consider them separate beings, but kind of battling for the same body almost? Or is
Yes,
it kind of just
absolutely.
like a different... Okay, so yeah, we would definitely consider them two. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because at one point Sentry has the Void locked in his basement
Oh.
to keep him secluded so he doesn't do anything, because he does really bad things. The Void told Sentry, for every person you save, I kill. So he is that kind of guy. He is a
Okay.
horrible, horrible thing.
Okay. So it's not just like an entity either. It's a thing, a being.
Yeah, when he took that super soldier serum because he, was a heroin addict, he thought he was just going to get high. The Void also came out too when he took it. But there are
Okay.
different stories. That's the main one. The other ones are like he was actually an idiot and someone said, "Here, this will improve you." There's a few different ways he turns into Sentry, but the one you said, that's the best one. That's the main one. Makes the most sense.
Got it.
Okay.
That's super interesting. The whole kind of like yin and yang of like, for every person you save, I will then kill that person, because getting into how he's portrayed in the trailers, we see him as Bob, this kind of like, I don't know, he almost looks like he needs to be defended by the Thunderbolts.
Dweeby. He looks very
Yeah.
dweeby.
Yeah, like you want to protect him, kind of cute little guy. So I will be curious, and it seems like Valentina's kind of holding him up as like the next generation of like a Cap mixed with an Iron Man in terms of like power, sort of, or like Thor, I guess is probably a better one. And so I'm curious to see if like in the film it will be that he starts out very much being Sentry, and then when the Void comes out he has to kill that many people because he's working with the Thunderbolts and they're able to save a bunch, and the Void is coming in to try to like balance that out. So that's a very interesting tidbit that I hope that they work into the film, because that's going to make it very impactful, I think.
Well, he does stay dweeby looking. Like he turns into the Sentry. Like he powers up when it's time to go. So in the comics, he has this like kind of like his own Jarvis, this AI that tells him where to go.
Okay.
Like you have 23 seconds left until this many people die. You have 22 seconds to get here. That's his whole thing. And it's very irritating to read, but it's fine. Whatever. But yeah, he just kind of deflates into dweeby little Bob. And his wife does not like it. She is, at one point, she says, like, "Can you put on Sentry when you come to bed?" Like, it's that kind of thing.
Oh. That's
funny.
That's unfortunate.
It was really sad to read because he was like, "Why?" And it was just so sad. I was like, "Oh my God, I want to adopt you."
Oh,
What a
no.
guy.
Yeah.
Well, I think, T, to something you were saying about how Valentina kind of paints him, though, I kind of want to go into that just because we do see such a switch into the Void, and I think later trailers are the ones that were showing it, and the very first few didn't show it at all. Or at least it was showing the Void, but it wasn't showing him being that, the person behind it and what we knew him to be. But she's having not a press conference, but she's in a government setting. I don't know to what degree, but we see it. And it's kind of implied that Bucky's there as well. Obviously, we know as of right now, he is obviously a sitting member in the government. So not weird for him to be there.
Not officially after today. They left. They released a clip today where Val says, "You only lasted half a term," and he's done.
Did I miss that clip?
It was released a few hours ago. It's like, and like Marvel didn't release it. It was an exclusive to all the press. So like I saw it from my friend at MCU Portal.
Okay. Well, that's such a good catch, though.
Coming in here with all the like hot news. Yes. Love that.
No, that's such a good catch because I would have gone off on like a whole tangent. So I'm so glad that you corrected that.
I saw you like kind of gearing up and I was like, wait, no, save your breath, please.
You're like, don't go there. No, I'm so thankful. Well, then there you go. I mean, no one's shocked. I think after Captain America, everybody was like, how did he even get voted in? Like, I'm not even sure how he's actively. I
really want a special presentation just of the campaign trail. Just of how did you get here? Because at one point you were like public enemy number 1 of the government.
Right.
Like,
yes,
people are sent to kill you. I want to know how you got here because like most of us can't even get a credit card in our name, but here you are. How did we get here? You're not even. You're like you weren't even in the country for that long.
No, and I think it's so funny because after Captain America, the Bucky Winter Soldier circles, that's all anybody was talking about. Like, it had nothing to do with Captain America. Everybody was just trying to figure out, they were like, who voted for him? Like, what was his persona? What was the image they went with to run and just be like, yes, he's going to be a great congressman. Like, nobody thought about this.
Well, I would like to point out if he ran from his home, he ran for a New York district. And let's think about 1, New Yorkers, but I say that with love because I am one. But 2, they just voted in Wilson Fisk for mayor. So, they're making a lot of decisions right now, assuming that was the congressional district he went from. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
That's very fair. Because like Wilson Fisk, you just meet the guy and you're like, oh. But I mean, you wouldn't want to tell him no.
Right? Because he might kill you.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Maybe Bucky kind of has that aura a little bit because he was the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So maybe people haven't
That's why we're all so attracted to him. Because we're just like, we're like kind of scared and our brains are getting it really confused with another feeling.
But we're like, but we love him.
Mom, I can fix him.
You don't love him.
I don't know. After all these years, it's still love. So we'll see.
But I do want to talk too. I think the other big comparison, and Valentina, you mentioned her, I guess, a testimony in front of some government officials. The comparison of the Thunderbolts to the Avengers. We've talked a lot about on our show how there has really been a huge hole with there being no Avengers team. Now, within a few months, we've seen the president, who's probably not the president anymore, ask Sam Wilson to reform the Avengers. So you've got the official OG group maybe reforming. You now have, we know, our good friend Kamala working on the Champion/Young Avengers. Take that how you will in terms of like official Avengerness. And now you also have the Thunderbolts, which it sounds like, based on her testimony, Valentina is trying to legitimize through government means and her kind of pull on the CIA or with the CIA. So with all of that in mind, curious if you guys feel like it's getting a little busy from a central team perspective and how that hierarchy might come together, especially knowing that we're probably going to have a full Avengers team in Doomsday.
I think it's very much following comics because comics are about team ups. They're about cameos. They're about joining anyone's comic. I think that's where they're going. I like to see it. I don't mind, but I want them to understand just because this person's on a team doesn't mean they don't have to show up in a show. Yeah. Like where are the Eternals? They're a team, but like where are they?
Real question.
Thank you.
They didn't get a chair.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point, and I'm glad you brought up the Eternals because that was a movie. You will find us defending that movie till the end of time. Like,
Yeah.
I love that movie. I fell in love with some of the characters. Like, I only collect certain Funko Pops for characters, and like I started collecting the Athena and Druig ones. Like, I really loved that, and I loved what they were leading into, and they're just gone. Like, we're just not talking about them. So
Yeah.
it's frustrating because also they opened a whole realm to the universe that we haven't really gone to before. But I like your point. Like, these teams all exist. We're not like, hey, there's the Avengers. Nobody else can ever form another team. That's just not reality. I think from my end of the question, it's more, are we actually going to get them? We're seeing the Young Avengers supposedly start to come together. And I'm not saying we won't necessarily see them, but it's more, I guess, the question of when. They're supposedly forming. We're supposedly getting a team up of the Avengers in Doomsday. Obviously, the Thunderbolts are actually happening, but what other teams are out there actively? So right now, we really only have one still in existence in this actual universe.
Well, Mr. Khan did say Kamala is in California.
Yes.
And what would a Jersey girl be doing in California?
Right.
Meeting someone named Cassie Lang, maybe?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Plus, like, X-Men are just kind of waiting to happen. I guess
Right.
they're going to be in Doomsday too, but they're all going to be old and like decrepit, so it's fine. But it's also, do we even have Thunderbolts? Because I think it's going to be Dark Avengers.
Me too.
Ooh. Yep.
Me too. That's why I
like
think we
that.
have the asterisk, and that's why I think they don't keep, or they keep highlighting, like, I think Bucky says, we can't call ourselves that and all this. I definitely think, and T, I think it goes to your question. You kept saying, well, the comparison to the Avengers. Okay, well, there's your answer. Just call them the Dark Avengers.
Yeah. Very true. And I think that goes to like the connection to the TV show, because if you think about having Mayor Fisk, and this is something we've been talking about a lot, especially because Daredevil just ended, having Mayor Fisk, who in the comics has his own Thunderbolts team. Now this is taking place in New York. I do want to point out that they have the battle with Sentry that you're seeing in the trailer at the exact same location that the Avengers have their iconic circular team up shot from the first Avengers. It's right in front of Grand Central Station, which is not far from where I live, which is super exciting. But that is very interesting as well because, you know, you're having my train of thought. Oh, I was going to say my train of thought just died, but I got it back. You're having them in New York. Wilson Fisk has his Thunderbolts in the comics. We don't know the timing, so we don't know if Wilson Fisk is mayor. We also, if they're going to go the Dark Avengers route, that helps them differentiate from a team that could be associated with Wilson Fisk if that's the route they're not going to go, which I don't think it will be.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we talked at length in our Daredevil reactions for the last episode about possibly tying it into Thunderbolts. And actually, I think we started Daredevil talking about it because of the timing of everything. We were like, maybe, you never know. One of these days, they might tie the TV show to the movie. We don't know. But I do think they want to avoid that, in my opinion, because the other thing, and I think this goes back to the very beginning, how they're forming seems strange because we do have two characters who have been recruited. And then on the flip side, it kind of looks like Bucky's doing his own recruiting as well. It kind of seems like Sentry gets out of Valentina's hands and Bucky's like, oh crap, I see this already being a bad situation before it gets worse. And he ends up collecting them like his own Infinity Stones. And then they go confront Valentina. Like, that's what I gathered from the trailer, is not actually that she put them fully together, but that Bucky did.
Interesting.
Well, they did say today in the clip, she said, I put you all in a room to fight each other and you come back as a team. And then Walker says, we're taking you in, Valentina. She's like, no, you're not, varsity Captain America. Like, Val is bringing so much sass, and I'm so happy about it. But
especially towards John.
He deserves it.
I love it. I love it.
Anti-John forever.
Yes.
You think he's bad. His comic counterpart is like 50 times worse.
Oh,
like, so
God.
much worse. Like that little bit we saw in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier when he killed that nationalist. That was his whole vibe in the comics. That was him
Yikes.
all the time. But he's just, you know, when you like to have someone to hate in a show, like when they die, you're like, ah, now I have to like everyone.
Right.
Like he's that. And I'm like, thank God there's someone, because I'd have to pick someone to hate. You need
Right.
that in a movie.
Yes.
Well, speaking of death, there's a big rumor and a big theory around one of the members of the Thunderbolts because they have conspicuously dropped off of all of the marketing. What do you guys think about Taskmaster and her fate?
Yeah. I think I said it from the start. I don't think she's making it through this film. I mean, I don't think I've thought that for months already because they did stop the marketing so long ago with her. It's a shame because I think this rendition of Taskmaster I like that they went a different direction for the Black Widow movie. But I guess I didn't really need her brought back either for the Thunderbolts. I wasn't really like tied to her character. So maybe it just became like nobody has the one. I know it sounds horrible, but like everybody else likes these other characters or wants to see them in some way. And then I just don't know if she was a character I needed brought back.
She's like Ghost. You kind of forget Ghost is in the movie until you see her and you're like, oh.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. She's another one. But at least like they try, I think, a little harder with her, in my opinion. Like I feel like even the newer stuff, I've seen more of Ghost.
Well, Ghost is also gender bent as well from the comics, but I personally hate what they've done to Taskmaster. Taskmaster is such a big personality. His name is Anthony Masters, a huge personality in the comics. Right now, he's a part of Deadpool's mercenary business with Deadpool's daughter. Like
Interesting.
they're all and they all vibe so well, and that's his energy. But then you have this one that's like you could have easily made her own character. You could have made it more Red Room oriented because I think we went past the Red Room way too fast.
Agreed.
For sure.
Yeah. And it's like Taskmaster she's done. She's not going to live. I'm predicting like Infinity War Loki style. Like she's quickly done.
I actually think it could be interesting if the Void is the one who kills her, because I think that would be like the moment that we could see, you know, for someone who's like a more casual fan who's not going in saying like, I understand like the duality of the Sentry and the Void, and they're just, you know, going to go watch. It could be like a really cool shock value moment for the casual fan to be like, oh my God, Bob, this like very unassuming guy who like sometimes has these cool powers, now he just killed Taskmaster. Like that's wild. Whereas like obviously anybody who's, you know, following would be like, yeah, okay, cool. But I do think it could be an interesting and like really good unifying moment for the team to be like, oh dang, like this is really off the rails now.
Yeah, I could see that. I feel like in the MCU they're going to simplify the Void and Sentry together because it's hard to wrap your head around, and they're not going to spend the whole movie trying to explain it to you, especially when it starts with, I'm sure he has a heart of gold, but dweeby little Bob here. There's just no way.
Right.
But I could see him killing off Taskmaster, but I also don't think so because I think Marvel is very, very aware of the backlash Taskmaster got for what they did and how they changed it, because Taskmaster was like one of the bros. You know, he was that guy. He can replicate any single kind of fighting style. He's the one that taught John Walker to fight just like Captain America so he could one up him, because John Walker is stronger than Captain America. So Taskmaster is behind all of that. And he did have a huge part in all the comics. And I think everyone at Marvel is so aware that everyone was mad about it. So I think they're not going to make the villain kill him just because they want people to be like, oh no, that's a bad thing. They don't want them to be like, oh yeah, Void, you know what? We could vibe.
You got rid of that character I'm not into.
Well, I think the irony of it could actually be if Taskmaster ends up not making it out of the room they were all sent to kill each other in. Like if that was the one person who actually they were, even if it was an accident, like these are all characters that, yes, while assassins, I mean, they're all a little loopy in their own ways. And I could see it being one of those moments where it just happens to be, I don't know, something crazy happens and they look over and they're like, oh crap, like we just accidentally killed so-and-so. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that could work. And then like we're talking about Loki's shock factor and also not letting her maybe get that far into the movie. Well, I would assume that's not going to be, I mean, we need the team up. So that's going to be early enough. I think maybe we just kind of have an accidental taskmaster death and that's the end of that.
Well, they did show, it was their last like full trailer they showed. At the end of it, the asterisk lost a pedal, a leg.
Yeah, it was 6, right? And then it
Call
went
it
down to
whatever you
5.
want.
It was to 5. Yeah, right. I've never been in this situation
It could be
before.
I like pedal. That was a really nice.
Yeah,
that's a nice little.
Thank you.
Great imagery.
Yeah.
But yeah, so someone's definitely dying. It's definitely Taskmaster, and you bringing up it being an accident. All I thought was of like, what if Red Guardian like tripped over her?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, just think about like the dumbest way that a character could maybe die, and let it happen in this moment. Like, I just see it happening.
Yeah, because
I think it would match the tone of the film too, because it does have like obviously those serious dark moments, and it sounds like from like the early critic reviews that it's gonna have some like mental health talk and things like that and like discussions around that. But I think at the same time it's really balancing this very fun, lighthearted, tone that we've seen in the trailers, and like even the way that they're promoting the film kind of has a similar like duality. So it could fit, really nicely in that those more humorous moments, because I do think we're gonna have ones that are very much on the flip side.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, their whole promotional campaign right now is Red Guardian killing it. Like he's on Tinder. Like that stuff.
I live for it.
I feel like I've peaked in happiness.
Watching him drive that old jalopy with them into CinemaCon was truly life affirming and everything I needed to just go on.
I just like to think that he just drives them around a lot. Like, hey guys, you want to go hang out? And they're like, no. He's like, I'll drive. And they're like, we know.
We're aware. They're all rubbing their stomachs. Yeah. Well, there's one other thing that I've been seeing online that I definitely want to get your guys' POV on. And we know that Geraldine Viswanathan is in the film. We've seen her in some of the trailers. She seems, and look, this just may be cutting and how they've, done a little bit of movie magic on the trailers, but she seems to be having a conversation with Bucky, which would make her, in my opinion, a relatively important character if we're seeing her have one-on-one dialogue with one of the Thunderbolts. Now, the interesting piece about Geraldine's character is a lot of people are thinking that she might actually be Songbird, who is one of the original Thunderbolts in the comics. What do you guys think?
Yes, she is definitely Songbird. Well, first of all, she
100%.
plays someone named Mel. Melissa Gold is Songbird, who was also first went by Screaming Mimi. She's also wearing a Songbird necklace. And when she was asked, are you somewhat of a Songbird yourself? She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Stop it. You made me nervous. It's like, okay, so you're Songbird. We don't need anything else from you. You said enough. But it makes sense because she, out of all Marvel comics, she is the longest standing Thunderbolts member. And she's the one that recruits them. So could she be working for Val?
Or if we're going the route where Bucky is recruiting them to go against Sentry, and since we have seen her kind of conversing with him, I actually would be interested to see if she kind of starts out as like, I don't know if he's still going to be a congressman depending on when that scene from today takes place in the film, but even if she was his like aide when he was congressman and continues to work like as an assistant or an aide for him or something like that, and they have a trusting relationship, I could see her acting in that capacity for him also.
Do you know how hard it's going to be if she's the love interest and I have to watch that? Do you
the
know
age?
Wait.
I mean,
Why'd you say that? Why'd you say that?
Because she said like they seemed close, and I was like, hang on. Something in me triggered.
No.
I think it's that crazy thing that like all women have, that like crazy trigger that's like, oh, I'm gonna go set something on fire.
Oh, but no, we don't need to say that.
I don't like. I've been so appreciative of them not showing a love interest for him because I don't think I can emotionally handle it.
Yeah, my thing is, if you're going to do a love interest, which I don't want it to be Elena for obvious reasons from just who the character is and also
And
Yelena's
she's asexual.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to.
Like,
I don't think they've confirmed that like in the MCU, but I'd hope that they
No.
keep her character to what her sexual orientation is in the comics. But
mhm.
I always wanted Winter Widow, and so I'm like, if you're not going to have done that, then don't do it. That's my 2 cents.
I've been
Missed
holding on.
opportunity.
I've been holding on to that anger for years since Natasha one time laying on a table said, "You don't even recognize me," and I was like, "It's happening." I was like, "The hottest couple's about to happen."
I was
Never
like, wait,
happened.
Easter egg, they're gonna do something, and then they never did.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. And then like they're just so hot. It's rude to not have them together. And in the comics, they're hot too. They're like together now.
I know. And then they
Mm.
were like, let's awkwardly have her maybe with Steve, which was also weird. I was like, let's not even explore that in Winter Soldier. That was strange, and I didn't like that.
Not as weird as
Whiplash.
with her and the Hulk. It's like
No.
that was such an automatic reaction.
Oh, we're
I don't know
haters
what
of
it
that.
means.
We're
Oh,
haters.
thank God. Oh, because both of you were like, "Oh my God, she said it."
Oh no, we are not.
Mm.
I mean, look, let's put this into perspective. It was a Joss Whedon film, so enough said.
Mm.
That's all we need to say.
Yeah, because if there's a woman, she has to be someone's love interest. She can't just stand on her own. Not
And
that
God
Black
forbid
Widow-
she can't have children. I mean,
Well,
oh my God.
The children thing is comic accurate. That part is. It didn't need to be said though, because like it was never. No one was talking about it.
Right.
So he
Well,
he basically pointed it out and said like, "Ha, see, she's not a real woman. She can't have kids." And it's like, okay, Joss, like chill. You're
hold on.
talented, but you're kind of a horrible person.
Comparing her to the Hulk who actively destroys things and she's a monster because she can't have children, I was like, this was a woman written by a man. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was like, I guess F all the women in this crowd, right? Who can't? Okay, I guess most of them are monsters. That's wild, crazy. But then
yeah.
that whole romance there was no buildup. There was just her and him, and she's like way hotter. So it's like, why
Yes.
wouldn't you just choose one?
Like literally anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and you get the mild-mannered, non-confrontational, kind of boring guy. I'm not a Hulk fan. I'm not a Bruce Banner fan. So like that hit
That's
me in
okay.
the feels.
It
You took
doesn't
it
help what
personally.
they've done to him in the MCU too. Like, if you're not a fan of him in the comics, that's fine, whatever. Everybody has their choices. But then you see the MCU version who's just like so watered down. You're like, anything cool from the character you have taken away. So good job,
Yeah.
guys.
And then I thought we were like, okay, we're getting a redo. We're getting She-Hulk. Perfect. She's an awesome character. That was the most comic accurate show. It was phenomenal. And then they're like, no, we're not going to continue because people online were mean. It's like, you're bowing down to him. What are you doing?
Which was the point that was made in the show, but like, that's fine. It's
We
fine.
loved
I wanna hear
She-Hulk.
that.
We were
I
huge
loved
fans
it.
of the show. We enjoyed it. It was so nice.
Yeah.
Like it was lighthearted and to your point, very accurate to her character. And it was funny
Mhm.
because like we talk about Deadpool and we all love Deadpool. Everybody loves Deadpool. But we liked the fourth wall break. And then she sat there and tried to do it just like her character does. And everybody was like, I didn't like that she was talking to me. That felt weird. And I was like, all right.
And she did it before Deadpool in the comics. Like, it's not a man's thing. There was a lot of things were said about the show that I was just sitting at home kind of twitching like, you bastards, you don't get it. And they're like, and then they've made Daredevil a flop. They made him with a yellow and red suit and made him all light. And I'm like,
I
that's
love that
comic
suit.
accurate.
I love
I
that
like
suit.
it. It's comic accurate. I'm always there for that. And it fit the tone of the show. If you had Born Again Daredevil in She-Hulk, that would have been weird.
Yes.
That would have been like seeing a zebra in the desert.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah. And that was a time. That was a time to be alive.
It was It was that was the point where it's like, no comment sections. I'm okay.
No, yeah.
Yes.
We had to be more mindful. I there were times I said to Taylor, I was like, I have to remember when I'm logged into our account and not my personal account, because I can't be liking all of this from our account, but I have my feelings.
Oh, I do it all the time. I'm like, look, if you don't like what I say on my personal account, you are not going to like what I put out to the public on my podcast account. So,
True.
just letting you know, don't listen to my stuff.
Can't be everybody's favorite flavor, I guess, and that's
No.
just fine.
But they'll still take a sip.
Too true.
True.
Too true. Well, before we move into mid and end credit scene predictions, is there anything that you guys wanted to touch on from Thunderbolts that you think may or may not happen, important plot points, things that may come out of left field that we haven't touched on yet?
I want to talk about, you actually brought it up, but I want to talk about Yelena. And we definitely kind of are going in a mental health perspective with her and her character, which I think is an amazing character. I mean, okay, let me say it this way. I think a lot of characters struggle with mental health issues. And I think Marvel, for the most part, I'll give them the credit that I think it's been shown relatively, I don't want to say nicely, or like, like, how do you show it nicely? But pretty accurately to some things. I
well
thinking even back.
represented.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Yes. Like, I'm thinking back to even like Tony and his PTSD and his anxiety and all of that. And that was what, in the early 2010s. So I do think when they have decided to show it, with the exception of Fat Thor, they've done it fairly well.
Yeah.
I think she's an interesting character to kind of go the route with, and also because I think that's what they're really capitalizing on with her character in the trailer. I think we're gonna see this movie a little bit more from her point of view than anybody else's. Like, I don't like to say there's a leader, but if we're gonna put somebody kind of at the forefront, I think this is going to be a lot of Yelena's story rather than a full. I think it's still gonna be a full team, but I do think we're gonna see a lot of her point of view, up into even self-sacrificing seemingly when she goes into the void, which we see in one of the newer trailer clips, which I was like, oh my God. So I just kind of want to get everybody's thoughts on just the direction that seems to be going and what you think might happen. I'm no, like, they're not killing off Yelena, I know that, but beyond that, what do you guys think?
Well, I was really worried that they were going to kill off Red Guardian because, like, if there's one thing that happens in the MCU is if a character's sad, they're going to make him real sad. But after seeing the footage that they've already released, I think it's pretty clear. Like, no, he's the comedy of the team. They can't lose that.
Yeah.
With Yelena, I do like that we are seeing some kind of PTSD from her because she has lived an incredible life, good and bad, and she's still getting over her sister. There's still so much she has to handle, and she was gone for 5 years. She has to figure that out too.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think it's interesting comparing kind of her and Bucky because I think he has been on a similar journey. He's just further along, right? Not only is he older, but we've seen him in so many other projects. He had Steve to help him work through that. He had the folks in Wakanda who I don't doubt for a second that they didn't just help rehabilitate him physically. I think that there was a lot of like mental work that was done there. He seemed at peace for the first time basically since, the war. So I think that they will be there. It will be interesting to watch their interactions and their relationship because Bucky's history is no secret. Everybody knows who he is, who he was, what he's done, and I think there's an opportunity for Yelena to kind of look up to him in like a way of him being a North Star as to I can come back from the terrible upbringing that I had or the really challenging upbringing. I can come back from extreme loss. I mean, Bucky lost Steve. He lost plenty of other people. So I think that will also be an interesting element, not only to her own journey, but then her relationship with him and how she might be able to relate to him and his journey as well.
Yeah, and I think them in general, that those two plus Red Guardian, I think are an interesting trifecta. Because I do think, as we mentioned, he's the comic relief for sure during all of this. I think they all have their little things, as all characters do in the MCU. But I do think, he is really holding the ground. I think in his own way, is trying really hard to inspire Yelena because he could tell she's not her normal self or her normal self to what he knows. And I mean, even thinking back to Black Widow, when we first see her, obviously she's not the comedic relief there either. Red Guardian is still the comedic relief in that movie, but she's funny. You know, we're seeing a lot of her personality, and she's the funny younger sister, and we're used to Natasha, so we kind of have that vibe going. But she is so different, even from where we saw her in Hawkeye last. I mean, she was bantering with Kate Bishop, and now it just seems that, not that she won't have that banter, she definitely has those lines already we saw in the trailer, but she seems just off. And so I do think having Red Guardian, who's still her father figure, kind of be there. But then you pointed out Bucky, who's also kind of been in a similar journey, but is also kind of not on purpose part of the reason she's where she's at. Like, that's what makes this trifecta so interesting, is these three have a very integrated history without fully, I mean, obviously Red Guardian and Yelena do know each other and always did, but they didn't know Bucky. I mean, Red Guardian's fanboying out here over Bucky because he's like, the Winter Soldier, this is awesome, like you're the best. And Bucky's like, what the heck? So I'm intrigued to explore that, and also maybe see, rather than help her, if Bucky kind of is a little bit of a trigger for this as well, because again, not purposefully, but the Winter Soldier programming in the MCU is actually what they used on the Black Widows for her class moving forward.
I wanted a completely different dynamic between them. Like, I didn't think they were going to make Yelena asexual. I still don't think so. So I really wanted her to just be kind of flirting with Bucky the whole time, like catcalling, and he's so uncomfortable. And she does it in front of her dad. That's what I've been wanting for like 3 years. And I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't know. I think Alexei would be really happy. Like, he'd be like,
I
my
think-
daughter is dating the Winter Soldier.
Well, because I didn't think he'd be fanboying either. I thought he would be like, I thought he would kind of like take it up with Bucky, like, what's your problem? And he's like, I didn't do anything. And Yelena's just in the corner winking, like that whole thing. I want it so bad. And like, it's not going to happen. And I don't know how to fulfill this want.
No, I think the irony is that somehow that's absolutely like fully switched. And so it's him fanboying, and Yelena's like, oh my God, like, Dad, stop.
True.
This is so embarrassing. Like, this is so awkward.
Oh my God, the scene when they're in the car and he's asking him what kind of super soldier serum he got. And Bucky's like, I don't know, the regular kind, Hydra. And when he's like, ooh, fancy, I'm like, dude, Bucky's is a knockoff in comparison to like the OGs. So like Red Guardian must have gotten like third or fourth generation. That is definitely an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
I want to know how many times he's going to ask, like, so have you fought Captain America? Because I have. And Bucky's like, yeah, man. I did fight him.
Did.
And he's like,
a few times.
He's like, I did too. And he's like, I know. Great.
Steve doesn't remember you.
Yeah.
All right. I think it is time to talk about mid and end credit scene predictions. I did see something today that there are in fact 2. So
Yes.
There are, yeah.
We are going to get 2, which I don't think we've had in quite a minute. So I'm very excited for this.
I think the Marvels was the
It had
last
2.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering.
Which was a year and a half ago.
Was that not
2
last
years?
November?
2 years
No.
ago?
Oh my gosh.
It premiered the day after the strikes ended.
Yeah. So I think that was 2023. Because last November, like the only one that came out MCU last year was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Yeah.
So
then,
it's been a while. And obviously
Yeah.
Cap only had the one. So I'm very excited. But Megan, I'm going to let you go. You're the guest of honor. Hit us with your mid and end credit scene predictions.
So I've seen them. I can't. I don't want to spoil it, but I know them.
Okay, wait.
Oh my
what
goodness.
if you
Okay.
Let's go off of what if you didn't, what would be your ideal, and your answers
No,
we
but-
wouldn't even know if they're right. So, what would be your ideal ones, even if they are or are not necessarily what you saw?
What I'd hoped for, I'm not saying if it is or isn't, but what I think is the smartest idea is that that there would be a Doctor Doom trailer, and there would be one in every MCU movie leading up to Doomsday, because they have laid no groundwork. So
True.
that's what I would, that's what I think is the best way to go. So
Yeah, I'd have to agree. When I was kind of, because we haven't had two in a million years, I couldn't think of two. But my one that I thought of off the top of my head was Doom related, because we also just got the news that Thunderbolts are going to play such an integral part, supposedly, in Doomsday. So it's like, well, if that's going to be true and we have that movie coming in a year, we should probably, to your point, have some groundwork put down. And yes, Fantastic Four is going to do it, but to some degree, but it's not, that's it. Then we don't really have anything else going for us other than shows that I don't think are going to do it. So I do think we're going Doom for one of them. But Taylor, I'll let you go for your next one, or for at least one of yours, because I don't even know what I would do as a second one.
Yeah, I definitely was on the Doom train too, or at the very least multiversal. I was like, you got to connect something to, it's the multiverse saga, and literally only 30% of the projects are actually talking about the multiverse, so that's fine. My other one, if I was going to say, like, keep it a little more grounded, keep it like mostly the mid-credit, keep it maybe a little more closely tied to the Thunderbolts themselves, would be at the Avengers assembling. There, I didn't know if that was going to be Sam or Carol Bruce, because I think like that duo, because I actually think it was super interesting that we got Harrison Ford asking, not Harrison Ford, but you know what I mean? Harrison Ford asking him to assemble the Avengers, when low key the Avengers have been working since we saw Shang-Chi. So
yeah.
maybe watch your own movies. I don't know. Like, very confusing. So I don't know who's even going to be leading the Avengers. Like, traditionally it's always been Cap, but like, is it going to be Captain Marvel and the Hulk? I don't know.
It's gonna be Sam. That's been confirmed, that he's gonna be leading the Avengers in Doomsday.
Okay. I mean, look, that makes sense. I don't know how Carol is going to feel. I mean, I don't think Bruce cares all that much about having a leadership position. The man, he's chill.
What is Bruce doing? Like, we don't know.
I don't know. He's just standing there, not even in Smart Hulk form anymore. We need to talk about that. But then I think Carol, it would be interesting to see like how she feels about that. That was also before her film. I don't know. That end credit now has been, the one from Shang-Chi, I feel like has been like almost softly retconned just by so many other things that are happening.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting how that dynamic might play out if it is something tied to the Avengers.
I like that option. I'm going to say for my other one, going off of that, maybe doing something based off the Thunderbolts, because obviously it's still like going to be their movie. And I'm hopeful that this is not going to be the only Thunderbolts we get. So
Agreed.
I know initially we talked about the asterisk at the end being because the Thunderbolts are ever growing. I mean, in the comics, you've got a lot of different, well, I say Thunderbolts loosely because obviously the Dark Avengers, there's a lot of different teams that kind of can be in the same realm when we talk about this topic. But there's a lot of different members. And I know even when the Thunderbolts were first releasing their members, there were a lot of people we were like, weird that Abomination, for example, isn't here. And just some of the people that we expected versus ones we didn't. So I think kind of still going off of maybe that idea, but also the fact that Thunderbolts is not going to necessarily be their sticking name. I'd like to see them kind of showing maybe them recruiting their own like additional members and growing and actually deciding to stay together if they're going to be a team in Doomsday. I'd like to see more of them. I think from critics so far, this movie seems to be great. I'm impartial, of course. We're going to be honest about that. But regardless, like I'd actually like to see this continued team up and actually see them grow as well.
Reviews have been really good. They said it's a breath of fresh air. Like,
yeah,
you know how Marvel will only tell you the good reviews.
Yeah.
But I look at all of them, and I've seen just so much good, and it's like, oh, thank God. Oh, we made it through another one.
Yeah.
I do think it's like, and this is something we've talked a lot about recently with Daredevil, it's very worth noting that there wasn't a ton of like news coming out of this production saying they rewrote it again. They had to do a bunch of reshoots. Like, Captain America, look, we were both rooting so hard for Sam to have like an incredible film. We were like, oh my God, yes, Sam, go be Cap. Yes, kill it. And then they like smushed 2 movies into one. They did the exact same thing with Daredevil because you could see exactly where they had the originally filmed stuff and then where they bookended it with the new stuff where they were like, oh my God, we can't completely separate it from the Netflix series, which was the right choice, but like the bookends was insane. And now we're hopefully going to get a film that from start to end had generally the same concept, generally the same plot, maybe with a few tweaks. But I think that's going to just be, in and of itself, a huge relief to see something that was meant to tell one cohesive story the whole time and didn't change halfway through.
Yeah.
Well, it did have all of that when Steven Yeun was going to be Sentry, who
True.
is actually a white character. If you'll notice, all the stuff comes out about people of color led movies or women led shows. Like Captain America, Brave New
Yeah.
World. They started saying it was screwed before they started filming.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like Thunderbolts had reshoots, they had rewrites, they had to fix the whole story when they went and changed actors for Sentry because I don't think Sentry was even going to be in it until they got a new person. But these
Fair.
things never
That's
come
right.
out about
I
these
totally
movies.
forgot about that. That
Yeah.
was so long ago.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and all these rumors, they're gonna have to reshoot, they're gonna have to add things, they're gonna have to get rid of people, they're adding more. All stopped when Steven Yeun left, and it was like that week when he left, you didn't hear a single word about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good point.
I don't know.
Crazy.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of projects lately have had their moments.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping, just on the flip end, seeing it afterwards put together, to Taylor's point, because there was so much, and to your point as well, Megan, to the things that were going on with Captain America prior to it even being made. I mean, since pretty much the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Not even, since Endgame, essentially, since we all
Yeah.
knew who was getting the shield. And I'm a Bucky girl at heart. We've been over this. I was perfectly happy Sam took the shield. I love Sam just as much. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and say anything, but I'm hoping
it just
this
makes
one
no
comes
sense
out.
for Bucky.
It doesn't.
Like, it makes no sense. He doesn't really have a future, as holding the shield, except to give the shield away when he realizes he's not worthy of it, when he doesn't feel worthy of it.
Yeah.
So it's like you're just kind of screwing up his character arc. And now look at him.
Right.
He's in the Thunderbolts. So
Yeah.
thank
Well, and I
God
always
he didn't
said,
get it.
if he ever eventually does, cool. But at this point, especially at Endgame, that version of Bucky didn't need to be Captain America. That's blanket statement, period, the end. I think, again, if you're going to give it to him, I mean, he's like 110. He's got time. So if you want to give it to him in 10 years when Sam is over it and he's human, he's feeling it, let's be real, then sure. I think that's a version of Bucky that is going to be maybe a lot more open to it as well, and also not dealing as much with the trauma he was dealing with. We only saw in the Falcon and Winter Soldier him going through the treatment at Wakanda and actually getting the programming actually taken out of him. And so that just like was no place for him. That just, there was no time yet. But eventually, sure, if that's what they want to do, I think that was a great point. You're just going to mess up his own story just to make people who are not happy that Sam is going to be Captain America. I love Sam as Captain America.
He was great.
He's been Captain America for over a decade in the comics, but no one wants to talk about that.
I know.
Nope,
Like,
it's all
almost
woke.
like there's source material that talks about all of this.
It's like there's a cheat sheet right there, and you're going to say that they're
Just
just
look
making
it up.
things up. And it's like, the answers are right there, though.
Google is
wild.
free, believe it or not.
It is. And if you're not into Sam being a Captain America, that's okay. There's characters I'm not a fan of either, but like, if you're saying he's not Steve, he's not Captain America, he's Captain Falcon, it's like you just kind of told on yourself. We don't have much of a future of a friendship here.
No.
Yeah. Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, right.
I've talked about this so much on my channel because it's just so annoying.
As you should.
Yeah, it's just like, imagine we get a woman who takes a mantle as big as Captain America, one of the first America's heroes, from the early like 60s, 50s. And then everyone says, "Oh no, she can't. She's a guy. She's a girl. She can't do it." It's like,
Yeah.
like that blows. So I can't imagine what people of color think when they see that so everywhere. People are so loud about it. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, there's definitely some cleanup that needs to be done in the fandom in terms of how people are feeling about just like inclusivity. And I just think I think, channels like yours, hopefully channels like ours and others are like really opening up the conversation, because I do think there's so many amazing characters, and it's so frustrating to see how, characters like Sam or She-Hulk are like so crapped on just because they're not Steve Rogers. And it's like, I love Steve. Like, I'm a Cap girly, I'm a Steve girly, but you can love Steve and like still love other characters and think that there's room for other stories to be told. So MCU fandom or Marvel fandom in general got some work to do, folks. Just saying.
A lot of work to do. Like, I'm tired thinking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can already hear it from, hopefully this isn't true, but I can already hear the complaint for Thunderbolts being, why do we have to talk about Yelena nonstop and her mental health issues? Why was that a thing? I didn't really care about that. That wasn't that important. I just want to see the action. Who cares? Like, I could see it.
It's like with Fantastic Four when it was it was kind of announced that it was going to be more from Sue's perspective, which makes sense because she is the strongest one of the four. But no, that took everyone out. They said, why is it going to be from her perspective? That's woke. It's not Sue and the Fantastic Four. It's the Fantastic Four. It's like, well, you don't say that about Reed, and he's the worst. Like, it's just crazy to me. And she's the backbone. She is the only thing that connects all of them together. So of course it makes sense. But
She's
it's
also
because
literally,
it's a woman.
Well, and she's also growing an entire other human who's about to be like one of the most powerful beings in the universe through the film. So like, hi, she's like the literal mother. Give her dues, please.
Yes.
I think he's going to be Galactus, like Franklin Richards. So I made a video about it the other day. There's a comic that's a Earth X when in this universe, Franklin turns into Galactus. And he doesn't know he's Franklin. He just knows he's Galactus. But in the same comic, that's when Shalab Ball is there with the Silver Surfer. So it's like, I see where they're pulling from. And I think where they're at now is that they're in a universe that they're not originally from. So, because we could see in the commercials, trailers, that he's working on a multiversal bridge. He's drawing it. So I think he's trying to get back somewhere and trying to get back kind of alerted, Galactus or someone. So I think in that one in particular, it will be Franklin. But then they go to another universe, 616, where she's not pregnant. Not yet, anyways. Because Franklin is a very, very big character to pull so early on. He's so overpowered.
That when they like announced that she was gonna be pregnant, you can see it in the trailers. Like, she gets further along as the trailers go. I was like, oh my god! Like, not only is it like, obviously you can have it where they are or are not married yet, like they're in a different place in their relationship. But for them to not only be already married, but for Franklin to be on the way. I mean, and then you get into Doomsday is coming. And you're like, all right, well, Doom and Valeria have such an interesting relationship. So are we gonna like speed that process up too? Because that's like that would be a very interesting storyline to adapt, or relationship to adapt. But yeah, there's a lot there.
yeah, and I don't know what they're planning on doing with Valeria Von Doom, but like, slow down.
Yeah.
I'm stressed. Like, you guys are doing a lot, and like, I just think you should calm down a little bit.
Welcome to our world on this podcast. We're always stressed about them.
I'm not sleeping well. Thanks, Marvel.
Us after Loki season 1, and we were like, what does any of this mean? I don't know what just happened. And then season 2 happened, and we were like, no, we really don't know what just happened. What does this mean?
Well, after season 1, after season 1, I was like, all right, that was all right. And I was like, it'll all work itself out. Then after season 2, I was like, what?
Yes.
What are we doing?
Yes.
Is he okay? I just need to know he's okay. He looked really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a night we did the finale of Loki season 2 was the worst mistake we've ever made as a podcast. We saw the Marvels, recorded, live watched Loki together via FaceTime, then recorded that. It was like 4 or 6 straight hours of podcasting, and by the end I think I was crying. Like it was just not a good day for us. Yeah, you can hear it in the episode too. Like towards the end we just get like incoherent and like angry. Like I think I went on a 20-minute rant.
You did, and I don't even think
I
I talked during it. Like I was so tired to the point where I was just like, yeah.
You're like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa.
I have no idea what I said.
I understand that. I recorded in reaction the entire time of Marvel announcing Doomsday's cast, the whole 5.5 hours, because I was like, it'll be done soon. This will get such good views. It'll be done soon. And like 4 hours in, I was like, it's never gonna finish. It's never gonna finish. And I like condensed it down to, it ended up being like a 25-minute video with just my reactions to each one. And you see me go through every single emotion. At the end, I start developing some kind of Stockholm syndrome because I'm like, they did that for us. That was so nice.
You're like, I have to justify the 6 hours this just took out of me.
And I tried to explain it to my husband. He's like, so hang on. It was just chairs? And I was like, well, Robert Downey Jr. showed up. And he's like, how long in did he show up? And I was like, that doesn't matter. He showed up.
You're asking the wrong questions.
It's all good.
He's like, he's like, okay. And this is why dinner's like late. I'm like, yeah, it's the chairs. Yeah.
I was waiting for
He doesn't
RDJ.
get it.
Yeah.
He's not a nerd at all. So he doesn't understand the excitement of when you actually hear the music. And he doesn't know the letdown when you're like, it's another Fantastic Four member. We know.
I know. Once you start with one, you're like, I understand they're all coming. Like, let's just go.
Yeah. I think I was like in tears on the video. I was like, they could have all been one chair.
Yeah, just Fantastic Four. We get it.
Yeah. I'm like, you're not going to have Sue without Reed. I know you're not.
Honestly. Well, this has been wonderful. We are so happy to have you on here. We are definitely going to have you back in the future. And thank you so much. Please tell all of our fans where they can find you and your amazing show and everything that you're up to.
You can find me everywhere at Vigilante Vibes Podcast. And I post a lot of random stuff. Like right now I have a series called Elevating the Nerdy Voices of the Rainbow, where I bring on a nerd of the LGBTQ community and the episode is theirs. They talk about whatever they want. The spotlight is on them. Amazing. And it's gone pretty amazing because I've met so many people. They've got a place to voice what they want and they won't be judged. And it's been pretty amazing because I was really scared to do it because I'm a very straight woman. So I don't know anything about this. So that's just one of my series. Other things are like comic breakdowns, character breakdowns, reviews, just comic reviews, random things.
Well,
awesome.
Everybody, if you're not already following Megan and all of her amazing work, please make sure that you do that because she's the best and she has such a lovely community that she's building. So please go join it. If you're a part of our community and you have not yet subscribed on your podcast platform of choice, you can do that wherever podcasts are found. You can also check out our website. As we always say, it's a central hub to all things Sisters Assembled, our version of Avengers Tower, if you will, in the digital world. And you can support our show via our Buy Me a Coffee link, which is also found in the show notes.
You guys can also give us a follow on all of our socials, which are linked in our show notes down below. And we're going to give Megan one more shout out. Thank you for coming on and doing our Thunderbolts predictions. We loved it. You are so knowledgeable, especially with the comic books. We only dabble, so we appreciate that. And we are deep in our Thunderbolts era at this point, starting off with the predictions. Make sure you guys get your tickets if you haven't already. And we'll see you on the flip side. So if Marvel just blew your mind, so let's talk about it. Bye.